All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Arlisha Wilson. I'll be the chair of today's meeting. Today is Monday, July 27th, and we'll get started with the reading of the preamble. Madam Secretary?
Good morning. My name is Liz Kukla. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I'm going to read the preamble for you this morning, this Monday, July 27th, 2026. In compliance with the notification requirements of the city's open meeting law and section 101.021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Please note that call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak on a particular case via our website and email. All requests to speak on a particular matter have been considered. We've also received emails from those who provided written comment on a particular matter. Madam Chair, I would also like to read the order of the hearing and the rules of the hearing. The order of the hearing is as follows. First, the description of the case will be read into the record. Any person wishing to speak on the matter will be sworn in. Project team will present the proposal. Board members will have the opportunity to ask questions. Those in favor of the project will have the opportunity to speak. Those in opposition of the project will have the opportunity to speak. The secretary will read any written correspondence. The City Planning Commission will give their recommendation. Council member, if present, will give comments. Project team may then respond to any comments made by other parties. Board members may ask additional questions or suggest conditions. Motions will be made and seconded, and the secretary will call the roll. The rules of the hearing are as follows. Please speak clearly for the record. Our court reporter can only record one voice at a time. Do not speak unless recognized by the chair. All conversations must go through the chair. No back and forth conversations, please. Hold your comments until the speaker is done speaking. At the request of the chair, the comments may be limited to 2 minutes. Back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you for that, Madam Secretary. I will go ahead and read the procedures for conducting public meetings during substantial disruptions. So as everyone knows, this is a meeting of the City of Cleveland's Board of Zoning Appeals, and it is a lawful meeting. Under Section 605.04 of the codified ordinances, no person with purpose to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting shall do any act which obstructs or interferes with the due conduct of such meeting. Members of the public may provide public comment if required by law in accordance with our rules, and sometimes at the discretion of the chair. Disruptions include, but are not limited to, speaking out of turn and or making loud utterances that interfere with the due conduct of this lawful meeting may constitute a misdemeanor and a violation of Section 605.04. If this meeting is substantially disrupted, I will call for a recess and the room will be cleared. Persons who violate city ordinances and commit misdemeanors may be subject to prosecution. When this body is able to return from recess, then in compliance with the Ohio Open Meeting Act, if applicable, and Section 101.021 of the codified ordinances, the meeting will be open to the public. With that said, let's go ahead and call the roll, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Holzer? Ms. Faith?
Present.
Mr. Madison?
Present.
Ms. Roca?
Present.
Ms. Wilson?
Present.
Madam Chair, we have a full complement of board.
Okay, perfect. Do we have any postponements or withdrawals?
We do not this morning.
Okay, unusual. We'll call the first case that is on the agenda. This is calendar number 26-074. Do we have someone present from Destined for Greatness Entertainment LLC? All right, I can see that you're coming forward. We'll go ahead and have Ms. Holzer read in the case, please.
And Madam Chair, it looks like the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cases are with the same appellant. Would you like me to read all 5 cases in together?
It looks like these are substantially similar. Why don't we go ahead and bundle them? Thanks, Ms. Sir.
Sure thing. So we will be hearing calendar number 20 or calendar 26-074. This is at 10524 Mount View Avenue, 26-075 at 10520 Mount View Avenue, 26-076 at 10605 Mount View Avenue, 26-077 at 10609 Mount View Avenue, and finally, calendar number 26-078 at 10613 Mount View Avenue. For these cases, Destined for Greatness Entertainment LLC owner proposes to erect a 2-story frame 2-family residence with detached garage in an A1 1-family residential district. The owner appeals freely from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 4. And with that, I will hand it to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, state your name, spell your name, and give your address. I'll start with you, sir.
My name is Quentin Green, QuintonGreen, and my address is 7971 Oak Ridge Drive, Concord Township, Ohio.
Okay. And do you swear?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. Sir?
I do. Paul Began, last name spelled B as in boy, Eegan, from Began Architectural Design, 15707 Madison Avenue.
Thank you.
Go ahead. I do. Councilwoman Gray, DeBorahGray, 601 Lakeside Avenue.
Thank you. And is there anyone else in the room who wishes to speak in this matter? Anyone on the call? I am not seeing anyone raising their hand, so back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you for that, Ms. Roca. Can we have history of the properties?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. There are no variances on file for these addresses, and as you can see from the photo on the screen, these are vacant properties. And the properties on these addresses were demolished in 2009. And other than 10520 Mount View, that was demolished in 1973. And they were listed as 2-family dwellings, except for 1605 Mount View was listed as a single family. And 10609 was listed as a single family. Oh, and I apologize, 10613 also was a single family when it was demolished. So for the record, 10524 Mount View was listed as a 2-family, and 10520 Mount View were listed as 2 families when they were demolished. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Can we have legal, please?
Yes, I think these are the same for all of them. Madam Chair, members of the Board, appellant is requesting a use variance and area variances from the maximum gross floor area and minimum interior side yard requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variances, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, thank you for that. We'll now turn to our project team. Which of you would like to speak first?
Go ahead first.
All right, just state your name and go right ahead and give your comments.
Yes. Again, good morning. My name is Quentin Green. And I just want to say, first of all, I'm thankful to be at this point of my project. It's been a long time coming. And really the biggest practical difficulty is just the land sitting vacant for almost 20 years. That's probably the biggest difficulty within itself. And also Not approving this variance would just really prevent the land from having a public benefit for the community because it's in line with Councilwoman Gray and the vision that she has for her ward, but also the vision that our mayor has for the southeast side of Cleveland. And it's also aligned with New Point CDC and their neighborhood plan that they have for the community as well. So just advancing this project is going to benefit the southeast side and Ward 3 as a whole. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Paul Began, Began Architectural Design. We're helping Mr. Green put together the development plan for this project. Yeah, this is unfortunately, right, our Great Recession and the subsequent major demolition all across the city of Cleveland pretty much cleared this entire street. And this is the street that actually Mr. Green grew up on. So after returning home from military service, he is back and investing in his old neighborhood where he grew up, which is an awesome story to begin with. Nothing super special about the homes other than, we're replacing relatively same footprint as what the original houses on the street were at. One of the variances requesting for a few of the properties to add a ground floor rental unit is really for the affordability issue of this, right? Building new houses, right, is going to cost what it's going to cost. There's no, and that cost is around $200 a square foot. So, to build these houses, right, is going to cost $350,000, $400,000 to build, right, and to offset the cost of a mortgage for something like that. Having a rental unit so that the future owners for these houses can help offset the cost for that mortgage is really going to help with the affordability as we try to reestablish some of these neighborhoods here in Cleveland. Other than that, side yard and area variances are very typical for all of the infill housing that we do here in the city of Cleveland. Right, we have small lots, and we're not trying to overbuild by any means with these. So I think, at least in my opinion, normal and expected variances for infill housing in the city of Cleveland.
All right, that concludes your comments?
Yes.
All right, Councilwoman, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. I just want to say I do support this affordable housing project 100% in the Mount Pleasant area due to the fact that residents in that community also. Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now? I got a little hoarse voice, sorry. Okay, thank you. So I just want to say that I support this project 100%. Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you. Because not only I support it, the residents in the community support it. When it was brought to my attention, Mr. Quentin Green, been at my community, came to the community meeting twice. And he presented his plan, and the residents embraced it because of those areas on Mount View have been deserted and abandoned for, like he spoke, over 20 years, just to bring the neighborhood back. And then he also gave a block party for the residents. So it was overwhelming. I had never seen a block party that was that intense and had a great time to know that they are bringing in and building houses back in that community. That's right next to Kingsbury. That's right, that's right across the street from Reservoir Place, as well as Eastern Park, and as well as we also have a Cleveland Housing Network homes down Kingsman Avenue, and to build that neighborhood back into a community is really astounding. So I'm on the rail with it because I've been in that neighborhood myself close to 40 years, and to see what has been done in the last 4 years since I've been council, the different type of developers coming into that community, building affordable houses of all different design, that our residents are able to pick and choose how they can live and stay in their own community and feel safe and comfortable and just have a new look. So to that, he has been very engaged. He's been at the community meetings, just sitting in the audience, not even speaking. He stayed present in the community. And just to say that it's a warm feeling. So I just want to just support this project. It brings wealth and understanding and has a very good connection to the community as a whole. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Do we have any questions from the board?
Yes, Madam Chair, I just want, if the appellant could speak to the garages in the back of the properties. Is there an alley back there? Can you describe how you get to those?
There is a driveway from Mount View, right? So there are curb cuts. And again, this is in alignment with the I'm trying to look at the site plan here, where we got here. Oh, so yeah, these ones are the back, the ones across the street. There is a street in the back. So if we go back to the overall site plan, maybe step back a little bit. You had me confused a little bit. Maybe one more, Xavier. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see here. So these are the ones across the street. So in this particular plant, Mount View is on the north side here. There is a street to the south, and that's where the garage access would be for two houses. The ones on the north side of Mount View, there is a driveway.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
All right, other questions from the board? All right, any comments from the city?
Good morning. My name is Xavier Bay. I'm standing in for our zoning administrator this morning, but we do have support from the neighborhood planners for the area. Mentioning, as was stated before, just due to the history of the street and a lot of the events of the past bringing about what we see today with all these large, vast swaths of vacancy. It is supported to infill these vacant lots with housing, and there's no opposition to 2 units. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Bay, just one question from your perspective. Can it be said that having 2-family homes in some of these which are in 1-family districts, is that in keeping with the intent and purpose of the zoning code for this particular area?
Thank you for that question. This is Xavier Bay again. So yes, there is an initiative from the city planning department to increase the housing typologies of the area. This street in particular does have some adjacency to other 2-family homes, and so there's no issue with our support for these variances.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. One last call to the board for any questions.
I have no questions, Madam Chair.
Please, Ms. Faith, go right ahead.
No, I have no questions. I was.
Oh, I thought you said you had questions. Okay,
No,
Ms.
no.
Roca,
I was ready to make a motion.
I'll entertain the motion, please.
Can I ask one quick clarifying question? Item number 4 on all of these requires planning commission approval. Is that just planning approval, or do we need to go to planning commission as well? Too.
Madam Chair, I can answer that if you may. Due to these being, distinct 2-family homes, these can be approved by neighborhood planners. It's just a matter of the process. We like to have projects come before the Board of Zoning Appeals to gain approvals before the neighborhood planner goes through the workflow in our permitting system. And so that's the main reason why these show up on the agendas.
For the clarification.
All right, we were going to the motion. I will entertain.
Based on the testimony we've heard today, I move that we approve calendar numbers 26-074, 26-075, 26-076, 26-077, 26-078. And I believe that is all of them.
All right, so we've got a motion to approve all calendar numbers on the floor. Is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Ms. Faith. Can we call the vote?
And Madam Chair, just for the record, we would not be granting variances to number 4.
Correct. Yep, we are just moving to numbers 1 through 3 for each calendar number.
Thank you. Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Roca?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar numbers 26-07, 75, 76, 77, and 78 are granted. They will be ratified next Monday, and we will send you a letter.
Thank
You
you.
can contact us next Wednesday for further instruction.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right,
All
thank
right,
you
you're quite
all.
welcome. Good luck with your project. All right, we're next gonna call calendar number 26-079. Do we have someone present from Pratt Properties LLC? Either online or in the room? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Ms. Holzer, we'll go ahead and have you read in this case, please.
No problem. Our next case is calendar number 26-079. This is at 5919 Hosmer Avenue. Pratt Properties LLC owner and Tierra Hayes tenant proposed to establish use as a type B daycare in a B12 family residential district. The owner appeals relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one, with a note that the board denied a request for a type A daycare at this location in calendar number 26-028. The appellant has since changed plans to care for fewer children at the location. And with that, I will hand it to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply with I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address.
I do. Tierra Hayes, Tierra Hayes, Hayes.
And your address?
5919 Housing, Cleveland, Ohio, 44105.
Could you hear that? Court reporter?
I couldn't.
No, we could not hear that address. Can you please state that again for the record?
Yes, 5919 Housing Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio, 44105. 44105, sorry.
44105. And anyone else on the call who wishes to speak in this matter? All right, we have Councilman Gray. Are you here for this matter as well?
Yes.
Okay, we'll have you swear in for this as well.
Okay, I do. Councilwoman Gray, DeBrahgray, 601 Lakeside Avenue.
Thank you. And anyone else in the room? All righty, I'm not seeing anybody else. Back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you for that. Can we have history of the property, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In our Records Administration Office, we found that in 1922, a permit was issued to erect a 2-story dwelling. 1963, there was an addition of a 1-family dwelling. And then we see, flash forward to the more recent history, in 2004, there was a permit that was issued to change use from a 2-dwelling to a single-family dwelling. In 2014, there was a certificate of disclosure issued stating that that the property is allowed to be used as a single-family dwelling, or that the authorized use of the property is a single-family dwelling. And then, Madam Chair, we have a variance in calendar 15-259.
Ms. Hayes, can you mute your phone, please? We're getting a little feedback. Thank you.
And there's a variance case in calendar 15-259 in 2015. This, I'm not sure if it's the same appellant, the same owner applied for a request to establish use as 11-person group home, and that was denied by this board. But then we see that there was a certificate of occupancy issued allowing for residential care for up to 5 people. And then earlier this year, Madam Chair, and this was mentioned in the write-up, this applicant applied for a type A daycare, and the board denied that variance. So today the appellant is back requesting a type B daycare. and some things have changed in the plan as well. So we do not consider this a refiling or res judicata issue.
Okay, thank you for that. Can we have legal, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the minimum distance requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, thank you for that. We'll now go to Ms. Hayes. You want to tell us about your variance request?
Yeah, it's a type B, which occupies less than maybe 7 children at a time, to be ran from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. I mean, the house is next door to a vacant lot. It's next door to a multi-touch unit. The owner and I have talked about, you know, if the traffic would cause issues, and that was not a problem. And then across, there's also a vacant lot, and behind is a cemetery.
Does that conclude your comments?
Yes, it does.
Okay, questions from the board?
Yes, Madam Chair, I didn't hear how many people, kids, children are going to be in the care of this facility.
You can only have 7 occupying at one time during the hours of 8 to 5.
So just so I'm clear, 8 a.m., 5 to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday, 7 children. How many staff members?
There's only one for that ratio.
Okay, thank you.
All right, other board members have questions?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Liz. Thank you, Faith, for allowing me to speak. I did miss an item that we do not have in the file. We have requested an authorization letter from the appellant, and we haven't received it yet. So just for the record, we do not have that, and we will need that if the board decides to approve the appeal.
Okay, Ms. Hayes, have you had an opportunity to complete an authorization form?
Yeah, we have that notarized as well.
Have you had an opportunity to submit it to our office?
We submitted it by email, but I'm not sure why why it wasn't received, but it was submitted by email with the plan.
Okay, it looks like we don't have it, so we will need you to resubmit that.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Faith, you had questions?
Well, that was one of my questions. And my other question was, in the site plan, it shows that there's parking in the driveway. And so that's not acceptable for use as parking. So where does she intend to use parking? And also, where are the children going to be dropped off and picked up?
So there is street parking. There's no limitation or restrictions on street parking. So if the driveway is not able to be used for pickup and drop off, there is a front door with the front door to steps that can be used for entry. So families can pull to the front.
You can use the driveway for pickup and drop off, but you can't have your cars parked there all the time.
Okay, there is a garage as well, a 2-car garage.
Okay, so there's access to that because it looked like that the backyard was fenced off.
Yeah, so I there's only one car, and most of the time I'm on the street. So there's street parking, and there's a garage, but the daycare does not offer transportation, so the car will not be used.
Okay. All right, that concludes my questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Faith. Any other board members have
I
questions?
do, Madam Chair. So just in looking at the proposal packet to the appellant through the chair, the proposal packet says that you will provide care for up to 6 children, but on the record, you've said 7. So which is it?
The state of Ohio has changed the ratio law, so you're able to have up to 7 to 1. Um, Up to 7 to 1. So, my proposal was 6 at the time when it was written. It was based on the law of the state of Ohio for a child care ratio. It has changed to 7 now.
Okay, so just let the record reflect that the proposal number is incorrect and that it's being updated to 7 children. And then in addition to that, the proposal hours of operation are also 8 AM to 6 PM. But you were also updating that as well?
Yeah, till 5.
Okay, thank you.
Question to Mr. Bay. I want to make sure that doesn't present any issues in terms of adjudication if the application stated that the request was for 6 children, but now today the request is for 7.
This is Xavier Bay, standing in for the zoning administrator this morning. So it looks like our application came in as established the use as a type B daycare. I'm looking up the application again to see if there's a number specified on the application, but I don't believe there is.
Okay,
So that determination would be finalized at this hearing.
okay, perfect. Just want to make sure of that. Mr. Madison, you have questions?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just to build on what you just asked, between the two type A and type B, has there been changes? I think last time I took note that type B was 2 to 5 and type A was 6 to 12 in terms of how many individuals can reside within this particular variance. So I think they're requesting a type B, but how many children is type B for? Is that 2 to 5? Or is type A 6 to 12?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I was getting at as well. Just making sure that the number of children is aligned with what we're actually granting here today. But I'll give you a moment, Mr. Bay, to answer that question, and we'll take any other questions if we have them.
Then, Madam Chair, my other questions was just around the safety and security plan for the children that you plan to have. And then my follow-up question would just be the age of the children as well. I think that might have been mentioned.
Okay. Ms. Hayes, you want to address the 2 questions that have been presented?
Yes, there is a floor plan that has been drawn out for each level for fire, and evacuation and natural disaster, safety plan. All of the windows, are able to be open, closed, as well as there's a front and a back door exit. As it relates to the age, the standard ages range anywhere from 6 weeks to 12 years old.
So can you repeat the age?
6 weeks to 12 years old.
All right. Any other questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just through you, if the variance is denied today, can you please share what practical difficulty you'll face?
Well, I've lived in that home in that area under the preconceived notion that I would be able to add value by way of providing safe and quality childcare. I do have a background and experience in education with a master's degree, so I provide the correct certification. The house has been properly taken care of, by way of its appearance and its etiquette, as well as, utilities of the code standard with grease and lead planning. So there have been lots of, standardization put into the house to make sure that it's up to code. For the plans and the sites that are getting ready to take place in the future with that area, they're getting ready to be an initiative with that fleet and striving visit area. So again, it's just adding value. And if it's not able to be added, then, I think the difficulty there is just that there's just been put a lot of funding into it, that I would just kind of lose.
All right. Any other questions from the board? All right, Councilwoman, you have the floor.
What? I apologize. House, that street, Ward 2 and Ward 3 borders. So that is Ward 2. That is not Ward 3.
Oh, got it.
Yes, and the crossover, I think that.
Oh, she can't hear you.
I'm
Good.
sorry.
Oh, yeah.
All right, sorry. Yes, that street borders on Ward 3, so that is Ward 2. That is not Ward 3.
Okay.
So no
All right.
comments.
Good. All right, Mr. Bay, we want to circle back to the question about the different types, just to make sure that we're
Mhm.
tracking the same here.
Yep, thank you. This is Xavier Bay. So yeah, type A and B is actually specified in the Ohio Revised Code. And then that's right. So looking in section 5104.01, YY gives us the definition here. Type B is from 1 to 7 children. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Does that answer your question? Mr.
Yes,
Madison?
thank you.
Okay. All right, if there are no other questions, let me ask if we have any correspondence, Madam Secretary?
No, we do not have any. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion from the board.
Madam Chair, just real quick, I have an additional question after that.
Yes.
What Mr. Bay shared. So I'm looking at the description of proposed use, and I want to make sure that I'm clear. In the use permit proposal that the appellant submitted, it says, under Ohio law, to provide care for up to 6 children at one time or up to 12 children when additional staff are present in accordance with ODJFS regulations. So with our approval, she would only be able to go have 7 children present at a time, correct? Or I just want to make sure that we're reconciling what is in this document against what is actually being requested. So I just want to be clear if it's 7 or 12.
Fair question. Ms. Hayes, can you please clarify?
That's in accordance with the state law. So it mirrors what the state law is. If the city of Cleveland law is different, then, I defer to you guys to make that decision. The state of Ohio says that a type B can operate in that way.
Ms. Holzer, does that answer your question?
So to the appellant, Ms. Hayes, then are you, based off of what you have in this document, are you saying if you had 2 staff members present, would you have 12 children in the home?
If that is approved, if that is not approved, then there's 1 employee to 1 to the 7 children, and that's how we would operate.
And then,
so as of right now, the proposal comes 1 staff to 7. There's no parking required because there's only 1 employee, myself, who's the resident there. If the city of Cleveland is willing to align with the state of Ohio, the code there, then yes, that's fine. But as of right now, the proposal comes 1 to 7.
And then to Xavier, then, based off of the code, and if we were to approve it as a type B daycare, we would only be approving it for up to 7 children, regardless of the number of staff members.
This is Xavier Bay through the chair. Yeah, I believe that kind of, wording would be specific to your motion. I think that'd be the right way to move forward.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions from the board? All right, hearing no questions, I will entertain a motion. Wait, did we get city planning comments? We've asked a lot of questions. I don't know that we actually got comments. Mr. Bay, anything from city planning?
Thank you. Again, this is Xavier Bay. We have a comment from Kenya Gray, the neighborhood planner for the area. He's stating he's in support if the applicant does, let's see here, sorry. Give me one moment, I'm trying to find our notes. So yeah, it looks like Kenya was able to follow up in a meeting with the applicant. Let's see here. Right, that's right. So as is presented, Kenya Gray is supportive of the proposal. His main concern was if there were going to be increased staff, he wouldn't be in support. But as was stated, there's only the 1 staff member. Thank you.
All right. Does that raise any questions for the board?
Madam Chair, I don't believe it raises a question, but I do think it needs to be a condition with the motion.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion, please.
All right. Given the testimony we've heard today and the discussion that we've had with regard to the level and number of children to be cared for in this particular facility, the condition would be to limit it to 7 children per the state regulations, and that parking is either street parking or in the rear of the lot. And with that, I move approval of calendar number 26-079.
All right, thank you for that, Ms. Faith. Do we have a second?
Board Member Madison, second.
All right, can we call the vote?
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Roca,
Yes.
Mr. Madison,
Yes.
Ms. Bates,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
And Madam Chair, this would be with pending the authorization form.
Yes,
Of
we
course.
would also add that I would make a friendly amendment to the motion that a condition
Got it.
is to provide the authorization form.
Thank you. This authorization form must be notarized as well, and we will hold ratification until we receive that document. Once we receive it, you'll be sent a letter. So this has been, I'm not sure if I actually announced that calendar number 26-079 is granted conditionally based on those conditions we just read.
All right. Ms. Hayes, you are all set. Thank you for being here today. Good luck with your project. We're going to call the next and final case. This is calendar number 24-089. Is everyone in the room here for this particular calendar number? Yeah. All right, we've got a lot of folks, so why don't you all come forward to the extent that you want to speak? And we will start reading in this case. Ms. Holzer?
All right. Our final case is calendar number 24-089. This is at 4843 Wendell Avenue. Shelter of the People Cleveland owner proposes to establish use as a church with nonprofit charitable offices and assembly space in a B12 family residential district. The owner appeals to relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 5. This case was reversed and remanded back to the board from the Court of Common Pleas. The Court of Common Pleas reversed and remanded the board's decision in case number CV-24-107470 on December 22nd, 2025. Judge Richard A. Bell concluded that the Board of Zoning Appeals is to correctly apply sections 337.02F1, 337.023G, and 337.03B in that churches and charitable institutions are permissible uses at the property, provided that the structures on the property comply with setback restrictions or an area variance is approved. The Board of Zoning Appeals is instructed to conduct a new hearing and to consider the evidence already presented under the appropriate standard using the criteria outlined in Duncan. And with that, I will hand it to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, state I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address. I'll start with you over here. We might have to, how are we gonna do mics? Oh, okay, great.
The Reverend Dr. Nozomi Ikuda.
Hold on a second. My court reporter has to hear your voice, so if you could just take your voice up and spell your name slowly once you do it.
I'm the Reverend Dr. Nozomi Ikuda. I'm the property owner at 10,001 Lorraine Avenue. The whole truth is I did move to New York, but I am thrilled to continue to be engaged in life in the city of Cleveland, and I do.
And we'll just have you spell your first and last name, please.
My full legal name is Cynthia, but I go by Nozomi.
Whatever your name is that you will put on the record.
Nozomi.
Nozomi.
And then Ikuta.
Ikuta. And then we have your address, 1021 Lorraine Avenue, correct?
10,001.
Oh, 10,001. And do you swear to tell the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
My name is Trisha Napolitano, and I live at 3265 West Boulevard. My first name is Patricia. Last name Napolitano, and I do.
Thank you.
Say your last name for me again.
Napolitano.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Deborah Kukwa, 3093 Otakar Avenue. And I do.
Thank you.
You spell your
Give me a
name,
second.
please.
DEBORAH. Last name KUKWA.
WA.
Stephanie Thomas. For this case, it's 4843 Wendell Avenue. I do.
Thank you. Or you just spell your name.
Last name THOMAS. My first name too, STEPHANIE.
Thank you. First, your mic's not on, and then go ahead.
Latoya Priester. My address is 3423 East 145th Street, Cleveland, Ohio. LATOYKA. Last name PRIESTER.
Okay, wait, I didn't get that. You said the first name is Latoya.
Latoya.
Latoya, that's where I got confused. Okay, spell the last name for me again.
PRIESTER.
Got it. Okay, if you could say your name and then spell your name, that would be helpful to me.
Okay, it's Miriam Negron. MARYAM. Last name Negron. NEGRON. My address, did you want? It's 4844 Wendell Ave, Cleveland, Ohio, 44127.
And do you swear?
I swear.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Sandra Fruits.
Sandra, I'm sorry.
Fruits.
Fruits?
FRUITS. Sandra, SANDRA.
And your address, ma'am?
4827 Wendell Avenue.
And do you swear to tell the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Deborah Gray, DEBORAHGRAY, 601 Lakeside Avenue. I swear.
Thank you. And people in the second row, do you plan to speak today? Okay, go ahead.
Elizabeth Kuzma,
Louder for me.
ELIZABETH, CUSMA, 2600 Lee Road, Cleveland Heights, 44118. I do.
Thank you. And anyone else in the room wishes to speak today? Anyone on the phone, on the call? I think that is everybody. Okay.
All right, can we have history of the property, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. Our Records Administration Office shows that a church was erected on the property in 1892. I think ours was in
Don't speak out of turn for me. I know you're being helpful, but I just want to make sure that we maintain order.
We have it as an addition being erected in 1902. That's our first permit that we see in the Records Administration Office. And then we see that there are permits for aluminum siding in 1976 and there was a dwelling that was demolished on the property in 1957. But Madam Chair, there are two variances cases on file in this address, in calendar number 24-028. This appellant requested to establish use as a church and overnight habitation. However, that variance request was withdrawn, and then she applied for the calendar number that we're reviewing today, calendar 24-089, and where she requests to establish use as a church, nonprofit charitable office, and assembly space in a B1 two-family residential district. Would you like me to read the comments that are in that resolution from the previous hearing to refresh the board's minds? I know that the board has received a copy of the entire transcript as well as documents, pretty much the entire file from the previous hearing. You've received that in our SharePoint folder. If you'd like, for the record, I can read the comments from our previous resolution that was
Okay.
denied by this board. So this was heard on October 21st, 2024. My notes are as follows. The appellant Stephanie Thomas stated that the space would be used primarily as office for 14 people and they would hold AA meetings. She went on to say that they will also provide educational services, job training, and act as a drop-in resource center. Parking will be provided on separate parcel that she owns. Zoning administrator Shannon Leonard stated that based on the testimony, the proposal had changed and that educational resource center services were not mentioned on the original application, and this would require additional building and housing review. Ms. Thomas submitted many letters and a petition with many signatures expressing support. 5 people were present to testify to Ms. Thomas's professionalism and commended her for providing a much needed service. One person stated that she believes the community needs more of these types of services, as in AA meetings and recovery support. 3 neighbors were present to express objection to the variance. They stated that they believe that there is a large concentration of these types of services in the area, which have resulted in problems for the neighborhood in terms of crime, loitering, break-ins, fighting, noise, and other things. One neighbor stated that they have kids and grandkids that may be at risk for exposure to crime and other situations. A representative of Slavic Village Development Corporation's Susan Gordon was present to express opposition, stating that the site is located on a narrow dead-end street surrounded by residential. The parking is already a problem on the street. Ms. Gordon stated that a community meeting was held with 25 attendees. 14 of those were residents from the neighborhood, and they all expressed opposition. She suggested that Ms. Thomas could find a more appropriate location and provided a list of other AA meetings places within half a mile with which Ms. Thomas could coordinate. Councilman Richard Starr stated that when Ms. Thomas operated the overnight shelter, promises were made to the neighborhood, but most of the promises were immediately broken. He stated that even though there is much support from outside the neighborhood, the most important voices to hear are adjacent homeowners. So after due consideration of the testimony, other evidence including the legal standards presented at the time, the board member Roca motioned to approve the appeal. However, the motion failed 3-1. And therefore, the board determined that the variances should be denied. And Madam Chair, Ms. Holzer was absent at that time. This decision was ratified on October 28th, 2024. And then this case went to the Court of Common Pleas. And you have received the journal entry in this case. And the conclusion in the journal entry is that the Board of Zoning Appeals decision is reversed and remanded. The Board of Zoning Appeals is to use a practical difficulty standard as a request for an area variance. The Board of Zoning Appeals is to correctly apply those code sections read by Ms. Holzer, in that churches and charitable institutions are permissible uses at the property, provided that the structures on the property comply with setback restrictions or an area variance is approved. The Board of Zoning Appeals is instructed to conduct a new hearing and consider evidence already presented under the appropriate standard using the criteria outlined in Duncan. And I believe Ms. Cornely will read those standards.
All right. Can we have legal, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the minimum distance parking requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. In Duncan versus Middlefield, 23 Ohio State 3D 83, the Supreme Court created a non-exclusive list of factors to be considered when determining whether a property owner has encountered practical difficulties in the use of their property. Number 1, whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be any beneficial use of the property without the variance. Number 2, whether the variance is substantial. Number 3, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or whether adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. Number 4, whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, for example, water, sewer, and garbage. Number 5, whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction. Number 6, whether the property owner's predicament feasibly can be obviated through some method other than a variance. Number 7, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance.
All right, thank you for that. While we're on the legal standard, it just kind of raises a question for me, and I want to confirm, Chief Leonard, are you there?
Good morning, Madam Chair. I am here.
Good morning. So it looks like this request includes to establish use as a church, nonprofit charitable offices, and assembly space. Now, the decision that was made by the Court of Common Pleas focused only on the use as a church. And I understand that we are to apply the correct standard that we've been instructed to apply. But my question is, are the uses of nonprofit charitable offices and assembly space sort of included in the use as a church? Or are we considering those as separate uses?
Per the testimony that was given and the new application, those are the uses that the applicant had insisted that were going to be part of her application. So the church, while it's a church building, it laid vacant as a church use for many, many years. And so when they reopened this location, they wanted to use it as a church, a nonprofit office for Shelter the People, I believe, and assembly space to hold those peer recovery meetings, AA meetings. And so in this instance, a church and a charitable office are permitted in one family districts and upwards, so long as they are the proper distance away from neighboring parcels. And so those are the variances that are requested. So she doesn't need a use variance as it pertains to the church nonprofit office and assembly, the accessory assembly space for those peer review classes. But she does need to be able to operate those types of uses. She needs the area variances in that residential district.
Okay, perfect. That answers my question. Just wanted to make sure that we were properly considering all of the uses that were being requested here. So thank you for clarifying that for me. Next, we can consider testimony from the project team. Now, we have all gathered here before. The board did review the transcripts as well as watch the video recording of the meeting from the last time we were here. So it's not necessary that we repeat that whole thing. Okay, the only thing that we're going to do today is discuss whether there's anything different, and particularly we're going to use the instructions that the court has provided to us to frame our conversation around the Duncan factors. So we'll start with you first, Ms. Thomas. I can ask you questions or you can just run through the factors as you see fit. Do you have a preference?
Can I just do about 1 minute of talking and then you can read the factors to me and I can respond to each of them?
Talking about something we've already discussed, or is there new information?
Just like moving forward, what the property is, just to give the councilwoman who's new a better understanding of the project.
Okay, go ahead.
So the ultimate intention, and we have filed permits for 6 adjacent parcels, is to build homes in this neighborhood. To provide further development of Slavic Village, increase the occupancy, promote businesses, all of that. I sit on the master plan steering committee for Slavic Village Development. And we have been awarded significant grant money to staff this building. Additionally, we have plans over, I think our estimated revenue for next year will be over $1 million, a lot of which will go back into payroll taxes for the county and the city of Cleveland. That's it.
Okay. So we have the Duncan factors on the screen. Let's go ahead and address those, please. With the first one being whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there's a beneficial use of the property without the variance.
I believe the reasonable return was just stated in the fact that we have grant money to staff the building and we would like to begin doing that. The second one,
hold on a
there's
second.
no other
Wait,
reasonable
I don't wanna
use
skip
for a
to that one.
church.
Let me just stick with that for 1 second. if you don't use the property as a church, as an assembly space, as office space, is there another way that you could use the property that would be beneficial in terms of the return?
There is not.
Okay, have you explored any alternatives?
We have explored, we had a 6-month renter over the winter, this last winter, as a residential occupancy since it's in a 2-family district. And because of the very expensive utility costs to heat the building in winter, we need to use this in more of a commercial use, and a commercial use. We don't have enough money to generate from rent money as an apartment to cover the gas bill.
Okay. And then let's go to the next one, whether the variance is substantial. Any comments on that?
Well, I think, just from my experience as a zoning and building code expert in New York, the applicant on this application and then the judge's conclusion is that the variance has been, the comments on the original objections, right, have been overturned, and the building was built before the zoning existed. This building was built at the same time as the homes that it's next to, and we're going to be returning it to the original purpose of
Okay.
its construction.
And do you see there being a substantial detriment to the neighborhood by returning it to that original service or use?
I do. There is a good amount of homes being built in Slavic Village in addition to existing individuals, and there's no service like the one that we're proposing to provide in the neighborhood.
I want to make sure you heard the question. So the question is asking whether there's going to be a substantial detriment that the neighborhood suffers as a result of this use. Meaning, is there going to be harm or bad consequences to the neighborhood as a result of this use?
None that I can see.
Okay. Next one. Hold on a second. We're all going to have our turn to speak. Remember the comment that you want to provide when it's your turn. You have the floor. Okay, whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services. Is there any issues that you can foresee as far as that goes?
None.
All right. And then number 5, did you know there was a zoning restriction on this property when you purchased it?
We didn't purchase it. It was donated to us.
Okay, and when it was donated to you, did you understand that the variance was not in place for the use that you are seeking?
My understanding is that the building would be grandfathered in since it existed before the zoning was enacted.
Okay, and then last one, no, sorry, not the last one, number 6, whether you as a property owner, your predicament feasibly can be obviated through some method other than a variance. I guess in layman's terms, is there some other way that you can achieve what it is that you want to achieve outside of getting a variance for this property?
I believe we don't need a variance anymore and that this should be remanded back to to the Building and Housing Department for further plan review.
Well, we're here because the court instructed us that we need to have this conversation and that a
course.
variance is needed. So I guess the question is, outside of needing the variance, is there some other way that you could use this property lawfully?
None.
Okay. And then final one, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed if you're granted this variance.
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you have other comments? Does that conclude your?
I guess I sent this to the councilwoman, but I didn't, for some reason, send it to you all, but we did pull, just because I know there will be some comments coming. We pulled the 911 emergency services log for the property. If you would like to see it.
What does it show?
I mean, it shows that in the last year, right? There's been only 5 911 calls. Only one of those originated from our property and was provided where they provided a name to the police. The other 4 were anonymous and did not originate from our property.
Okay. Any other comments? Does that conclude your comments?
That's it. I'm done.
Okay, all right, so I'm gonna go up now to the top of my list, starting with, in the order that we swore in individuals. So the Reverend Dr. Ikuta, hopefully I didn't mispronounce your name. Okay, awesome. Yep, perfect. Go ahead and give your comments.
Well, I didn't arrive this morning understanding all this, so I'm gonna do my best to adjust. My family came to Cleveland, Ohio in 1943. During World War II, from a concentration camp in Arizona. We were welcomed by a wealthy doctor to be domestic workers. I'm not sure that everybody in Cleveland, Ohio thought that bringing in Japanese people who were seen as the enemy was welcome. But I'm not sure that everybody agreed with that decision to welcome us. I'm here because I understand what it means not to feel welcome because of who you are. And so to the point here about, I guess it's number 7. I think that the original purpose of a church is to provide welcome. And I think that what Ms. Thomas is proposing to do is 100% in line with that original purpose for which that building was constructed, which was to provide welcome and healing and community, which I've seen her do in her work at other sites.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll next go with, I asked you to say your name so that I could remember at this time, and I don't want to butcher it.
Thank
so
you. It's a
state your
lot
name.
of vowels. Thank you. I'm Patricia Napolitano. I'm a licensed and independent community social worker. And I specialize in taking lots and lots of time not getting paid. I've done a lot of board work, including board of development work for the Metanoia Project. I've lived and worked in Ohio as a social worker. And I've been a social worker over 27 years. I work on a lot of violence reduction projects or acute services projects. For example, Bridges to Housing, where we targeted the 10% longest stayers of chronic homelessness. And we expected to see people in shelters. And what we found was people sleeping in abandoned houses in Ohio City. And when large scale systems look at how do we treat our most severe patients who have the most acute issues, who are seeing police, they are seeing Job and Family Services, they are seeing the jail, they are seeing social workers, but who is connecting them? It's often outreach workers. So when I went into working for the Court of Common Pleas under a Bureau of Justice Associates suicide prevention grant from 2017 to 2020, I started board work with the Metanoia Project, who worked largely in Ohio City with people who live outdoors. And our protocol was really our city's protocol of housing first, not to build more shelters, but to help people access trauma-informed services. So now in the tail end of my career, I am doing a lot of advocacy and starting my own clinical programming. I do have a private practice, which has been in Rocky River for the past 5 years, where I'm a trauma therapist with a number of family, adult, child, and prenatal to age 5 certifications. And as I've been looking for a place to house my clinical practice, Steph had invited through Shelter the People just an open call for people who work with unsheltered homeless to look at how human rights were being stripped and how we could really respond as a community. So as an emeritus member of the Metanoia Project, who was no longer working, I wanted to get involved. And Steph had just taken ownership of the church and had been trying to rent it in the first season where we had a number of police calls. So Steph, as someone who's an architect, asked me as someone with clinical experience, can you help me plan how we might do this? So we've been in planning phases for about 2 years of how we might roll out a walk-in group treatment setting for women for chemical dependency and trauma that is sorely needed. And I've got extensive research experience and some partnership with Cleveland State University that should be starting this August. If we're able to move forward at Shelter the People, that would be wonderful. But after 27 years of social work, if it doesn't get funded, we just keep having the committee meetings and try to figure out where to fund it. One of the things that really drew me to the Wendell location is that it has been preserved as a sanctuary and as a church, and the loving details of the people who have not only built it, but maintained this beautiful interior that has been well preserved and well loved these many years. It really will stand as a worship place. And we have some young contemporary drum karaoke Christian groups that want to come in and have young adult nights until 8 p.m. And we're really looking for more churches and more religious and spiritual groups who would like to use the space consistent with the way that we use other outreach spaces or worship spaces such as St. Paul's at West 45th and Franklin.
All right, thank you for that. We'll next go to Ms. Kukwa.
Thank you. Deborah Kukwa. I don't think not feeling wanted is the issue here. I think it's the hardship that's in the area. It's already a hardship. There's a lot of problems in the area. We've had building and housing out there. We have no clue what the inside of the building looks like, what kind of building and housing issues could be going on in the building. I can see from my house what's going on that street, and there are things that I don't like to see. The property taxes might be in arrears since 2023. And I'm not quite sure if the zoning regulations are correct. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Just one question. You said you see things at the building that you don't like to see. What does that mean?
I've seen emergency squads over there.
Okay.
I've seen things going on across from the church where emergency squads come there and take people out of the facility.
Okay.
And that's very disturbing.
Okay. Thanks for explaining that. Does that conclude your comment?
Especially for a senior.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just wish we could move on.
Okay. Thank you so much. We'll now go to Ms. Priester.
In reference to number 3, I just want to add that I believe it'll be a detriment to the community if it is not properly staffed. I do know that Shelter the People Cleveland has recently staffed a clinical director, a program director, and peer support. So with that overseeing, I think it would decrease risk and liability on the unit or on the property with programming and provide services to those in the community.
Okay, thank you. We will go to Miriam next.
Moving forward, Miriam Negron. Moving forward is what's difficult right now. You said you don't want to speak about things that's been going on in the past, correct?
No, I was just saying I don't want to repeat the testimony that we heard the last time we were here at the hearing.
Okay.
So if you have new information, feel free to present that.
I live directly across from that. And the riffraff that comes with the offices that has been stated that's going to be there, I personally don't believe that it'll be safe for me as a resident. If I'm coming across correct. My safety and my children's safety and my grandson's safety is the most important thing to me. Having that being said, how can we move forward as a community to provide something that will be beneficial? Something where we won't have, I want to go back to the past, when in the past, over the police being called and it's been screaming outside my home in the middle of the night of people not, I don't know. But I've had to call the police personally in regards to that. And I understand where everyone's heart is. Why are we looking where the head needs to be, and as far as a residential area, not as a commercial area where they have homeless shelters. We have AA meetings across the street from Randall's already. We have 24-hour AA meetings down Broadway already that have been established. I think that she hasn't spoken to them about how it's difficult for parking, how it's difficult to accommodate everyone that's coming in from the outside, if that makes sense. I'm the one that has to live there. I feel like I'm being pushed out of my home, and that's not fair. This is not fair. And with that, hopefully my point came across to Stephanie and everyone involved. And I appreciate being heard.
Yes, absolutely. So you mentioned something about you not feeling safe.
Correct.
Why is that related to the church or this building that's?
There have been cars broken into. The man screaming in front of my house in the winter. When she had a repass, there wasn't enough parking and people were arguing and fighting outside the repass. It's just been so much. And it's just, like I said, I feel like I'm being pushed from my home right now. And I love my home. I love the area that I live in. It's so nice and quiet right now because nothing is going on in that building right now. And that's just today. I can't speak for the future. No one can speak for the future of what's going to happen. I just wanted to remain peaceful and quiet for my kids, my grandkids to grow up in. I'm not willing to give them my property right now just for riffraff and chaos. Like, come on, guys. Like, it's a residential area. How would you feel if someone said they want to come and have a homeless shelter across the street from your house? You want to take pause of, yeah, it sounds good in theory, but how can we maintain that? How can we maintain it? How can we keep it jarred up in the bottle and say it's only going to be 14 people there, 8 people as officers? That's not true. That's not true. And with that, I pass. I have nothing else to say.
All right. Thank you for your comments. We'll go to Miss Sandra Fruits next.
Hello. Thank you. First, I want to say the work that she's doing, that's fine somewhere else, not in a residential area. Since the last time we were here, there has been constant things going on in the building. Back in March, I've had a couple homeless people ring my bell. I tried to send everything in. Some of the pictures did not pick up when I sent it to the zoning appeals email. And I'm speaking for my neighbors, right? I had petitions I sent, took around the businesses on Broadway, 49er restaurant, the auto detail place, Pets of Cleveland. They are against whatever she's trying to do there with the church, the homeless shelter.
And you're saying they signed this petition that you
Oh,
have
yes,
here? Can we see that, please?
Yep. They even, 49er even sent me gave me a menu with their signature on it saying that they're against it. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. This is the letter I wrote. This is another letter. You can send past both of them now. In the since we left here, there has been constant, she's been open. And it was told at the last zoning meeting that nothing should be going on in that building. There has been parties. I have pictures of parties going on through the night. I have pictures of them drinking in the parking lot, running around in bikinis. I have pictures of homeless people in front of the establishment. I have pictures of the repast where the neighbors around the corner from me, that is a street and a half over, because all the residents there do not have driveways. So when they came to like go grocery shopping on this Saturday, no one had anywhere to park. So they were knocking on my door because there's a couple of homes that does have driveways, but they was asking could they park in my driveway to carry their groceries around the corner. There were fights. In the past 6 months, there was someone living there, right? Running in and out. The lady behind me, her name is Vicky. She cannot be here today due to some health issues. She's right behind, and they had an axe throwing in the parking lot where her children play on a trampoline right behind the fence, right? There's no regard to the neighbors, right? It's just been a lot of chaotic things going on. She doesn't respect the neighbors. She doesn't respect the zoning committee. She doesn't respect the city of Cleveland, because things were told to Miss Thomas and the rest of this should not happen, and it continuously went on, right? The children over there, it's maybe 8 houses on the street. Every household on the street, except maybe 3 houses, have children, right? We still dealing with people coming up. Cause some homeless man just came, was knocking on my door and was standing in front of the building where Marion resides at, right across the street. It's just been so much. It's been a lot. And it does make you want to move from your home, because I've been there, 20, almost 30 years, right? I raised my children there. I've done programs there. I've coached in the baseball over there. And it's at a point where I'm at the point where I might want to move, right? And Slavic Village is a community that has helped me raise the children and my children and other people's children in the community. Far as homeless shelter, AA meetings, NA meetings, it's like North Broadway, that's all we receive. Now we're at a point where maybe things are going to look up in the future far as something more positive, right? We have NA, AA, methadone clinics, mental health clinics. We don't even have a decent place in North Broadway for the children to go, right? And with that being said, it's just too much. It's just too much. The OG say is parking. It's not enough parking because they're parking on the street. I have pictures, anything that you want to see. Like I said, I tried to send it in. I sent it in to zoning appeals, something, but it didn't go all the way through. Because when I checked this morning, they said they never received it. But I have these pictures, and these things are still going on.
And just to be clear, we were here in October of 2024.
Yes,
when
ma'am.
This variance was denied.
Yes.
And is it your testimony that the things you're describing are happening after the time?
Yes,
you were
ma'am.
here?
Yes, ma'am. I have
Okay.
time dates and on the pictures. I could show you all of that. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Any other comments?
I have one more thing to say, and I'm kind of concerned about when it was shut down for the homeless shelter, and for a cooling shelter. My biggest worry is, like, it was a church, But when it was gutted out, all the pews, everything was taken out. So it's just a building. There's no pews or anything like that in there. Everything was taken out of the building. And if it does go back into a church, that gives her leeway to do some of the things that she maybe wants to do, feeding the homeless, having people come around, all of that. When we come out of our house at 2:00 in the afternoon, we have people already standing there. A lot of these people were bussed over from 2100, and that's where she's going to try to do the referral agency from my understanding. From the people coming from 2100. If you know what 2100 in Lakeside is, or on 23rd and Payne, if you've been there, that's how the front of our homes are. And it's a dead end street with children playing. It's not safe. It's not safe for me. It's not safe for the kids. It's not safe for the residents. It's not safe for the business owners that are against it too. So she might give her leeway. It's horrible. The work that she's doing is great, but this is not where it belongs.
Okay.
It's not where it belongs. And we all are in fear.
Okay. So I'll let the record reflect that Ms. Fruits has submitted a petition that bears approximately 24 signatures. These signatures are from residents in this neighborhood. It looks like they all live on Mead, Broadway, Wendell, Nursery, Dakota, Otakar. And they all have checked no, as they are not in support of this project. I also have a signature from Chrissy at 49er Diner, and there's 2 additional letters, one from Altamise Frya, who lives on Wendell Avenue. She writes about 5 paragraphs. Ultimately, she is expressing that she has concerns about this project and that she does support efforts to help individuals in need, but does not feel comfortable supporting this project at this time with the information that she has. And then there's an additional letter dated 7/15 from another resident of this community who respectfully opposes the approval of this church/homeless shelter at this location. I will pass this to you, Ms. Roca, for your review. We also have.
I'm sorry, no, I didn't mean, the auto detail shop signature is on that petition too. The other businesses is on that petition too.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. So Ms. Gray, I'll give you the floor. Do you want to give comments?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm here I'm here due to the fact that I am the new council of this ward. However, I'm learning to understand the differences that is going on in Southern Village, and also with the differences with the shelter in place and with the residents. Since I've been in this ward, this is the 7th month, I have communicated with Ms. Thomas, also with the residents that's on Wendell, on purchasing, and a few on Finn. I had this, I read the report that was given to me by Ms. Kuko a few months ago, because I had asked a request to postpone the first hearing on June 8th, because I would have had enough time to understand what was going on with this whole situation that's been going on with shelter in place for the last 3 years, from my understanding from the report that I received. So that's why I asked for the June 8th, so I can get a better understanding of what was happening. So due to that, I had my meeting with Ms. Thomas, a separate meeting with Ms. Thomas, and had the report. And so I discussed with her that I wasn't going to accept all the signatures that she got prior to me coming into council, because all the signatures that she had was all over the city of Cleveland. They wasn't focused in the area of the shelter in place. So I asked her to go out and get signatures that was in that area, so I can see who will support, who is in support this shelter or not. So, she went on and got the signatures and she brought back, at least, I think at least 10. But I also told her after that, I told her I was going back to talk to these residents so I can hear their opinion of the shelter in place, how they felt, and what they knew of it. And this is what I do with every, as you guys know, I've been here 3 times with group homes. But if I don't know to understand what a resident think and feel on their own without any knowledge prior to that, I take the initiative to go out and talk to residents once I receive the sign-in sheet. So I went and visit a few residents on the sheet because most of them wasn't at home when I went back a second time. As a council, I do that due diligence on my because I'm learning the community to understand what I need to do to build infrastructure, the right infrastructure of development for the residents in this new area that I have inherited. So I went and talked to a couple of residents who was at home, and I asked them, were you aware of the shelter in place that's on Wendell? They told me, 2 of them told me no. So they had no idea of the shelter in place. But when Ms. Thomas did bring out, Ms. Thomas spoke to them about the intent of the shelter in place, they do agree with that. I said, well, are you aware of the history of the shelter in place? So we don't know anything about the history or where it was until Ms. Thomas brought it to our attention, and we signed it due to the fact that what is needed for homeless people or unsheltered or people that are having issues, they agree with that, but they had no idea of the other significant things that was going on the actual street of Wendell of other residents, because they had just moved there maybe a year and a half. So we had a very robust conversation with the residents that I communicated to let them know I'm the new council, and I want to ensure the safety and the awareness of what this community needs as a whole to ensure that everyone wants the same type of infrastructure of development that needs to come to this new community that I am, that I need to be aware of. So, and then 3 of the addresses that's on this list that she went and got from residents that was living in the building that shouldn't be in the building.
So let me just confirm that I'm tracking what you're saying. Hold on 1 second. You're saying you received a petition from the applicant that bears a number of signatures.
Right.
And you verified the signatures and you learned that some people are actually not in support of the project. And then there are additional people who actually live in.
This is the document that Ms. Thomas brought back to me after I had my one-on-one meeting with her about the shelter. I said I wasn't accepting all the other signatures because they wasn't in the area of the place. So she went and got signatures after our conversation, and she emailed these signatures. Now, 3 of the signatures are from the shelter in place. And from my understanding, no one should have been living in the shelter in place.
Hold on 1 second.
That's staff,
Please,
but
you're going to have an opportunity.
that was staff, but
you're going to have an opportunity to speak.
Right.
I need you to hold your comments until you have the floor, okay?
See, but I wasn't aware. She just said their staff. I wasn't aware of that. I didn't ask the staff. I asked for the residents that live in the area for her to bring me back who approves the shelter in place. I'm just hearing from her that these are staff. Staff doesn't live in the community. This signature is supposed to be from residents who live on Finn, Wendell, and is that Pershing? Right. it was in that vicinity. So I'm thinking that by Stephanie giving me these 3 signatures, I'm assuming they're from the people who live in the building. I had no idea. So this is what she emailed me back. So what I'm saying, my point is, she did go out and do her due diligence. But after I seen these 3 signatures, this same address from that place, that was not in void. That's a discrepancy to me as a council to understand what is the honesty and the truth that you bring to me. When nobody's supposed to be in that building, period.
So I want to ask your opinion, Councilwoman, about any of these factors that we have to consider as, you know, the legal standard. And specifically number 3, you know, it questions whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be different if this variance is granted. Do you have an opinion about that?
Yes, I do. It would, just my council opinion, Ms. Thomas and her team I invited her to a community meeting, because that's what I do. And unfortunately, the community, it was very uncomfortable and it got a little bit hostile due to what the residents still feel. What I hear today, they still feel the same way prior to me coming to council. This was going on for 3 years. So my structure is to bring everybody together to have a good conversation. The conversation was kind of intense and was very passionate on both sides. But due to that, the residents still voice their opinion. They do not want the house. They don't want the church being as what Ms. Thomas wanted it to be, because they feel unsafe. They feel that that corner, that is a dead end street, and it may be about 10 houses on the street. And I'll go over there and visit the residents. I spoke with the residents. That's a dead end street. And this is why the residents feel that they feel unsafe in that box corner of the activities that they have seen. I have not seen them personally, but I have heard them in the community meeting when Stephanie and her team came to the community meeting, and it was very passionate, but it was very intense due to the conversation that they had back and forth. And that's something that was uncomfortable, but I'm saying that I'm glad that I seen the whole vision, a vision and the action of how they communicated, how they still are not getting along prior to the 3 years that this been going on. Regardless of me being council, they still have discrepancy of this building, of this church turning into the center that Ms. Thomas would really love it to be. No one's against that. However, it's the intensity that's still been going on for all these many years. And now I'm the new council and it's in my lap. And the previous council did not agree with it. And I'm able to see to understand why this is something that the residents feel uncomfortable, and they have the fear of the new residents. I'm gonna call them residents, who probably most likely going to be in and out that building. They feel uncomfortable of the activities that they have already experienced. They don't see the change that it will bring to the street. They don't see that because of what they've been dealing with. They've been dealing with that, not me. But in the last 6 months to 7 months since I've been council, I've been getting the negative feedback. Not one resident, in the sense of saying that they know the history of the building. They don't know anything personally about any of Stephanie and her team. They have not said anything negative of Stephanie and her team per se, but they just saying that they're not aware of the actual activity prior to them even moving on the street. They just know that what they were told, what the building would be, and that's why they signed the sheet. But however, even not knowing any of the history that the residents who live on the actual street, you know, what they have dealt with. So by me being the council, and I'm boots on the ground every day, all the time, and I understand the need. I do. I understand the need. However, due to what I have read, and I'm a very unbiased council person, and I've told everyone your business, as a business owner, as a resident, I am for you. I'm an unbiased council. Everyone is my constituent. I'm here to resolve the situation as best as I can.
So let me ask you this, with that being said, one of the factors that we have to consider is whether there can be a use that can be accomplished at this property that would not require a variance. Is there anything that you can foresee would be useful in terms of how this property is used that would obviate the need for a variance?
I can't see it because I can't see that use because I'm still learning to understand what the neighborhood needs as a council.
Okay, fair.
That's what I'm doing right now. Is the residents are first, their voice are being heard. I have to understand the development and the infrastructure that I need to build for the residents, so they can engage something that they've been looking for a long time. So that's my basically stand as a council, is to hear from them.
Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
I'll let the record reflect that I have 11 photos that have been submitted by Ms. Sandra Fruits. I do want to just get a little clarity about what these photos reflect. So I'll just ask you a few questions. There's 4 photos that feature a person. It appears to be a person on the property belonging to the applicant. Can you just describe what these photos reflect?
The first photo with the black jacket on is a photo at the end of March where the guy was staying there and came and knocked on my door. My Ring camera caught that. Okay. And let's see, what's the other one? That's someone else. That's back in April and March at the building. Homeless or living there, I don't know.
Okay.
That's another person that's the same person that was on my porch, living there in a building when it shouldn't have been occupied at all.
Okay. And then there's about 7 photos that do not necessarily feature any person, but if you could just explain what these are.
It shouldn't have been open. That's the building being open still, day and night parties. That's another party. Another party. Let me see, lift it up a little bit. That's the lady, Vicky, who stays right behind the fence. So you have the parking lot, and then it's a metal chain link fence. Right there is her backyard where all her grandchildren, that's where she lived, where all her grandchildren play. That's the picture that she took with them at her back door. That's how close it is to her backyard. That's her backyard. The fence is just separating it.
Okay. And then what are these?
That's some type of thing that they were, I think, the day that I seen that's the day earlier that day that they were all out there drinking and like some type of thing, like fluorescent lights or something, but they were all out there drinking, playing music. And it was what's that one? That's one from the lady from behind. She took that picture from behind the building from Miss Vicky. That's her taking where they still having NA, AA, people living there, parties, the lights and so forth. Yeah, and then it was some other pictures that didn't go through of the repast that was given that day, where it's in my phone, but where no one could get down the street. If an ambulance would have come down the street, a police officer, a fire department, they could not have gotten through, period. Where your picture at that you had? Her picture shows how close it is to the homes, right? And let me just say this, Ms. Thomas, I'm not against what you do. I'm not. It's just not the place for it. So on that picture right there is the yellow house. That's where she resides. That's how close it is, right, to the building, right? So when it was a repass, that whole area was full. There was fighting. There was chaos. No one could get up and down the street. The neighbors couldn't pull in front of their homes to take their groceries in, where they even asked, could they park in my driveway and walk around the corner? And it was filled from Wendell, down Dakota, and up Meade, right? I don't know. It's just been a bit much.
Okay.
It's never clean. It was just cleaned yesterday. Even with the zoning sign, I have it in my phone. The zoning sign, again, was not placed where the community could see it. It's placed over in the cut on the side of the building, right? It was cleaned Saturday, but before that, I have pictures. It was horrible. It was horrible.
All right, I think I may have skipped over one person, Elizabeth Kusma. I'm so sorry to skip over you, but please, you have the floor if you want to give your comments.
Yeah, thank you. So I run a small, I run a small mobile sauna wellness company, and the photos of said party are actually from a sauna event that we held. There's no alcohol on premise. I've been sober 18 years. There's no alcohol or drug use at any of our events. It was a ticketed event with Stephanie's permission. We had safety waivers. We have all of the fire extinguishing materials. We had the actual fire department inspect the sauna for safety.
Now, just to be clear, you're saying you had a sauna event on the property in question,
Correct.
right? Okay.
And that's the vehicle that you see with the red lights.
Got it.
It was a daytime event that went into the evening, and we were always done by 9 p.m. There was a DJ at one of the events with Stephanie's permission. And we also had a trained arborist who understands how to use all sorts of chopping implements. We had a log splitting competition to literally chop wood. We did have a couple of families from the neighborhood come. One of the dads actually split wood for years and years and wanted his granddaughters to see how it was done. Nothing was done without the supervision of trained professionals. And we no longer hold events at Stephanie's Place because that sauna, we have a different sauna now and it lives at my house instead. But we had everybody always park inside the fence, so nobody was ever parked on the street. There was always access to water and hydration and any sort of, medical supplies should anything happen. There were never any problems. And like I said, there was never any alcohol or drug use.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, Stephanie, I am going to give you the floor to respond to any of the comments that you have heard. I would also like you to address Any practical difficulty that's not generally shared by other land or buildings in this district that your property would face without being granted these variances?
Sure. So I'm just going to go through some of the points just to clarify from the councilwoman and some of the neighbors quickly. First and foremost, it's not a dead end street. There's 3 streets. It creates a U. The police drive by frequently just in a U shape down Mead and then back up Wendell. We're requesting to get a certificate of occupancy as a church with accessory uses, which have been noted on the variance request, which are offices and assembly. Anybody in the neighborhood that didn't know that we were operating as a shelter previously, back in 2023, the winter of 2023 to early 2024, we did mail public notices of a community meeting for which barely anybody showed up. Any EMS that were there in the last year was because we did rent the space out. And when you have tenants, sometimes they call an ambulance or sometimes the neighbor does. To Miriam's point about riffraff, she has spoken to me about a woman that visits one of her tenants that she doesn't like. Her tenant, Edward, is in desperate need of peer support. When we became owners of the church, had to donate a heater so that his space was heated for the winter. And I'm looking forward to working with him so that his life can be better. You can never have too many AA meetings in the neighborhood with the highest overdose death rate in the city. Slavic Village is number 2 on that. My other properties are on West Boulevard, which is the number 1 highest overdose death rate in the city. We have parking for, I think, 19 parking spaces. We far exceed the requirements by the building code. And in terms of respect, I mean, the day that we went to go get signatures, we were called pejoratives that were specifically discriminatory towards the LGBTQ community. Additionally, when Slavic Village Development allowed us to paint the bollards that are across from Miss Fruit's house the color of the rainbow, she drove by and called me a faggot. So there is no respect that I can come back from on that. I'm happy to keep the peace and use our building pursuant to the law.
Okay, and can you speak to the practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district?
Church in this specific district. There is no other church in this specific district.
So the standard is that, you know, you have to prove that if the board denies your variance request, it will create a practical difficulty that is not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district.
I think I spoke on that in the beginning when I said that we have grant money that has been specifically been allocated for us to staff this property and to build our business, which will be the headquarters will be there.
Is there anything particular about this property that would create a difficulty?
It is a historic, gorgeous building, and we want to put it back to life and service of the community.
Okay, thank you for that. Any comments from the city?
Good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Xavier Bay. We do see Shannon's hand raised as well, if she'd like to clarify anything before I start.
Shannon, you have the floor.
City planning can give their opinion and then I will follow up.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, give me one moment here. There we go. All right, so this is Xavier Bay representing city planning. So city planning is not in support of the proposal. The use is rather intense for a residential street with 1 and 2 family homes on it, and would be more compatible and contextual along a corridor where population served is closer to transit and other services. So the use will also substantially alter the character of the neighborhood and will lead to vacancy in the neighborhood that's already struggling to hold on to families and seniors. So the spirit and the intent of the zoning code also restricts these types of intense uses in old churches, mainly the building and granting of this variance would create substantial injustice to the neighborhood and neighboring residences. We're supportive of the vision to house the homeless. We're very supportive through our housing for every home for every neighbor program, and would really prefer to advise the applicant to work with city's programs to understand how they might, bring their dream to fruition in a more contextual area.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Bay. I do have one additional question, and perhaps to you, Ms. Thomas. So it's my understanding that the church, is on Wendell. Does it have any access to, other streets, other neighboring streets like Finn or Otakar in terms of ingress and egress? Or is the only way for people who go to the church to have ingress and egress, is it only on Wendell?
Thank you, Chairwoman. No, there are many different routes that one could take from, say, what is that, East 55th and McBride, and or other routes off Broadway that they could take to drive to our building.
So my question is a little more specific, not thinking generally, Broadway. I'm speaking just to get to the building in this particular neighborhood, right? So there's Wendell, there's Dakota, there's Otakar, there's Finn. Can any of those streets be used to get to the church, or is Wendell the only street that you can?
All of those other streets could be used to get to the church.
Okay, I hear other Ms. Fruits, you have a different.
Yes, if you come off of Broadway, you come down Wendell. But when you come down, it's like a dead end, and it's a street Dakota. So you either have to come down me or Wendell. It's like a U. Other than that, you can't get to the building.
Okay.
At all.
Okay, Councilwoman, did you have anything to answer?
I'm agree with Ms. Fruits. When I get to the building, I come off of Broadway to Wendell.
Okay.
But that short street, which is that Dakota?
That's Dakota.
That's Dakota. That is your out street Dakota go to your out street to Meade. And then if you come from Meade, you coming back to Dakota to Wendell. That is your only street that goes into Wendell. And I have learned these 7 months, you got alley streets. That's what I was told from the residents. They said, guys, these are alley streets. And they connect, but one street connect only with another street. But that one is a one-way. Dakota goes in and out of Wendell. That is the only street other than the main road Broadway that goes into Wendell. And Wendell is the dead-end street.
Okay.
I don't understand. I just want to correct Ms. Thomas. She right. That's Wendell is a dead-end street. But when you come in from Wendell, you only have a right to go out to Dakota, and Dakota bring you back into Wendell, but you come into Broadway to come out of it.
Okay, that helps. All right, so I will open the floor to Ms. Leonard. I can see that your hand is raised.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Just a couple things to note here. The original intent of this location was to be a homeless shelter. And so with that being said, when the applicant acquired the property, the zoning was still 2-family, and that was not a permitted use at this location. And it is the obligation of the applicant to have that due diligence when proposing uses. Secondly, as it pertains to the assembly write-up. So the assembly write-up in this application was for her nonprofit office to host AA meetings and other small recovery meetings. It wasn't for the full extent of assembly use of hosting events and doing an event center with DJs and other things of that nature, other vendors, or hosting parties. That would bump this into an event center's application, which would require use variance as well as area because of the location next to residents, as well as the live entertainment, meaning any type of music, DJ, bands, you name it. So I just want to be very clear that the assembly here was in reference to the group gatherings and not adjudicated for assembly as it pertains to an event center or amusement and recreation.
Okay, that is super helpful.
And then
one question as far as that goes. I'm sorry,
Yep.
Shannon. When you say the assembly is in reference to group gathering, is there like a number count that would differentiate those two uses?
So the application was a little bit abstract in the fact that when you think of a church or place of worship, that's generally considered an assembly space from a building code perspective. And she had put in her application and in the testimony from previous hearings that she was hosting small 15 or less or so people for meetings, not as it pertains to events and leasing out the space or hosting events, and then including the live entertainment, which is any form of music from whether that's a karaoke machine, DJ, all the way up to, full scale parties, as you've seen at this board before. And then the second thing that I wanted to add also is that there's no parking on site here. The applicant was advised back in 2023, I believe, that to secure the parking on a non-consolidated parcel, she would need to submit an application. We haven't received that application to date. So there's also a parking variance required here as it pertains to the uses that they are proposing.
Okay, that is very helpful. Thank you so much for that, Shani. I will allow the board members to ask questions.
Madam Chair, I have several questions. I'll start with the Court of Appeals and its direction to our board to use the practical difficulty standard, as this is a request for area variances related to setbacks and parking. So to you, Ms. Thomas, you noted that you have 19 parking spaces on the property. You're asking for a variance and the write-up is that you have no parking. So can you please help us understand that?
Certainly. So we own two lots that are adjacent to one another. So Ms. Leonard's correct. We will have to file an application to consolidate the two lots. They exist as one in the county records. But we will have to file an application to include the parking, which is within a fence that goes around both of our properties. Just one fence goes around both of our properties.
So you were here today to get a parking variance because as currently noted, you don't have parking for this application. So I guess to Ms. Leonard, if we grant this variance today, what does that mean for if she has parking, but she needs to refile? I'm a little confused on the parking.
So per our records and the county records, the lots are not consolidated. There's no plat on file. And so she would have to establish use of the parking to the west as a single main use parking in a residential district, which would land her back here in front of the board. And then you would need to make the proper parking lot upgrades to actually use that as an adequate and legal parking lot.
Okay, so Ms. Thomas, do you want to move forward with your request for a variance for parking, or are you going to amend your application to do what Ms. Leonard just said for parking? So we are going to either make a decision on your parking variance, which is an area variance, or
It seems to me we're not going to decide on the variance today because she has an entire lot with, did you say 19 parking
Well,
spaces?
it says
or-
22 on our plans, but after counting them again, because we did repaint them, it's 19.
Okay.
So is it your plan that we're not going to move forward with your parking variance today?
I mean, if we can get it today and then just include it as Ms. Leonard outlined as a requirement before we get our certificate of occupancy.
I don't know that we can do that, but I'll ask Ms.
It
Leonard.
doesn't seem you need it. Ms. Leonard, do you have any thoughts?
So she may need the parking variance. Well, if she doesn't consolidate the lots, she would need to establish use of that other parcel as a parking lot, as a main use in a two-family district. You cannot add it to this application. It would be a brand new application as stated in 2023.
Okay, understood. Well, I'll file a separate application for the parking.
Okay, so we're removing the variance for parking today, correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay. So your other variances are related area variances. We are not here for a use variance. The court already adjudicated that. The 15 feet setback, you are less than 15 feet away from adjoining premises, and then you are also less than 30 feet away from adjoining premises. Can you describe for the board, is there any way for you to remedy that? Or are you seeking those two variances based on where your building is?
I'm seeking the variances and on the plans I submitted for October of 2024, I show that the actual, although the lot does abut other lots, because all of this land is vacant on my parking lot, our building does not encroach within the 15 or 30 feet that's noted.
Okay.
So I do respectfully request a variance.
Okay, thanks. And
Wait,
then
I'm
this is
sorry, that just confused me. You're saying your building is not less than 15 feet away?
So our lot lines do touch other residential lots, all of which are vacant.
Well, the question is whether it's 15 feet away from a residential district. Is it your position that it is not?
Oh, no, then that's the case. I'm just stating the actual building and the lot doesn't touch anything that's being used.
Yeah, I don't.
Got it. I wanted to make sure I was clear on that.
Okay, so there doesn't have to be a building on it.
Got it.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
all right, so you do need those variances. And then the last question I have is in response to what Ms. Leonard said about, so this is used as a church, that has been adjudicated and appealed, and they have been successful in that appeal. Are churches able to hold events under the code? So if a church has a bingo night or a small festival to fundraise for the church, is that something that a church can do under the code?
Madam Chair, to the board member, just to clarify, they do not need a use variance because churches are permitted in single family districts so long as they are the required distance from another not like property in the residential district. So they still need that area variance. As it pertains to entertainment and event center within a church, no, that is not permitted without being adjudicated as such.
Understand that. Thank you so much. So I understand that if they're as being used in the space as an event center, they would need a separate adjudication. But can churches, designated as churches, have events without being an event center?
So churches and places of worship generally can have meetings and things of that nature, yes, without being designated as an event center. But if this is a common occurrence, then it becomes more likely and more apt to be considered a event center. And to have that live entertainment, that adds the extra restriction of being 500 feet away from residences.
Okay, so churches can have meetings, churches can have events of some sort, but not live events to a certain degree. But they can have events other than just worshiping inside a sanctuary, so to speak.
That's correct.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right. Any other board members have questions?
Madam Chair, if I could follow up to that.
Please.
Ms. Roca's questions with regard to the events. And probably this question goes to Ms. Leonard. If they're having a festival, let's say like the Greek festival or the Italian festival or any sort of larger event where there might be catered food, there might be music, other sorts of entertainment, would they not have to at least pull permit from the city to be able to do that?
Madam Chair, to Ms. Faith, that's correct. They would need to get a special events permit.
Right. Okay. So anything that would involve a tent or a food truck or any sort of vehicle that would be on site, anything like that, all has to be permitted, correct?
Yeah, DJ, things of that nature.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from board members?
I have other questions. I'd really like to know a clarification of what is the definition of a church, and maybe Ms. Leonard can answer that for us. And then in follow up to that, I'd like to hear from Ms. Thomas how she is actually functioning as a church.
We will let Ms. Thomas go first.
Thank you, Ms. Leonard. Ms. Thomas, if you could reply, please, give us a clear outline and definition of how you're functioning as a church.
Thank you, Ms. Faith. So in my original application, I've got a letter dated March 29th, 2024, and I'm happy to read the entire thing, but the primary, first off, churches are also outlined as worship spaces or religious spaces. As one of the primary purposes of the building will be to provide space for the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. Hold on, I'm getting through a lot of this text I wrote down. And okay, there are no less than 5 major court cases in which the final judicial determination was that Alcoholics Anonymous doctrines and practices are indeed religious. Those are.
Are you conducting any sort of scheduled services?
Yes.
For purpose of worship?
AA meetings.
Okay, outside of the AA meetings, is there any other use that would be considered worship?
Yeah, so my name is Patty Napolitano and I'm the clinical director, and I'm also involved with church planting pastors in Quaker City, Ohio. And I've been involved with interfaith religious groups since I started working for the Mother of God Parish in 2001 at a family homeless shelter. My family also helped establish Edna House and the Domestic Violence and Child Advocacy Center here in Cleveland in accordance with the Catholic Church. And while the Catholic Church was fining the priest and not paying them salary. So social justice and interfaith religious organizations have a strong history of cooperation, not only here, but nationally in violence reduction initiatives. So the work I've been doing.
Hold on one second. We want to directly to the points of this particular property.
Yes,
and I think Ms. Faith's question is, what are the functions of this property going to be that would make it a church use? Now, we've heard that you'll do AA meetings. We've heard that.
Sure.
Are there any other functions that you will put forth in this building that you would consider worship or church use?
Thank you. And I think Ms. Fruit really communicated like the dismay and disappointment we've had having to use this as a 2-family home and having to use this as a renter, because we've had people renting from us who use it as they wish and occupy as they wish, but we are not permitted to use it as a church at this time. So in line with other violent, I would love to tell you.
Okay.
Thank you. So in line with other violence reduction initiatives I've worked on, I've been outreaching with local praise and worship groups and traveling pastors who come between Cleveland and Millersburg and Quaker City, Ohio, and Virginia. I am not ordained at this time other than to perform weddings, but I'm ordained through the Great Commission of my faith to spread the good news. And I participate in Bible studies, worship services, and I have 2 different people committed to host a monthly Christian drum karaoke night from 6 to 8 p.m. on the facility. And we would like to expand that to more revivals in the future, but we're not able to plan or promise for the length of time that this has been a 2-family home.
Do you have anything to add to that?
We will be happy to submit a little bit more information about future proposed uses as part of the certificate of occupancy application. Like for, like what are the dates and times of the drum circle?
I don't think we're asking what are the dates and times of the drum circle. Ms. Faith's question was simply, what are you proposing? How are you proposing to use this space that would be in alignment with the application you've submitted?
Pursuant to the tenets of Jesus Christ, which is to serve the community.
Does that answer your question, Ms. Faith?
Not really.
I didn't think so. I don't know if it answers.
Alcoholics Anonymous has been deemed as a religious use.
Get that.
Yeah,
Is there any other use aside from that? Or is that the only use that
we haven't, like Patty was saying, we haven't been able to plan because this has been in limbo for almost 3 years.
No,
been a
So,
while.
Madam Chair, it seems to me if this is functioning as a church, then there needs to be scheduled religious services. I don't, regardless of what type of religious services there should be scheduled religious services, perhaps scheduled Bible studies midweek. There should be seating set up inside to accommodate a congregation, attendees for such services. There should be a clear and present outreach that there are religious services or some sort of faith-based services being conducted aside from AA. And I'm not seeing, nor am I hearing, that such scheduled services are being performed in this structure. Therefore, I don't see it being used as a church.
All right, we've got a hand from Chief Leonard. Do you want to chime in?
Yeah, Madam Chair. So church or place of worship isn't defined specifically, but it has the common plain meaning that you find for churches or place of worship. But I'd encourage us to get back to the Duncan factors of the current application versus whether AA is an actual church or a religious entity or not.
Yeah, and I want to make it clear on the record that we are not disputing that. That is not
Yep.
what the board is insinuating at all. We're just trying to understand, as we do with all applications, what is the proposal here? And I think Ms. Faith's question indicates that the board is unclear about the specific proposal. And what we're hearing now is that they are proposing that they will hold AA meetings, and that is the basis for them applying as a religious institution. So I do agree that Duncan factors should be the focus of our conversation. I think we've discussed the factors number 1 through 7 ad nauseum. We've also discussed the practical difficulty that will result if the variances are not requested or not granted. So are there any other questions from the board that will contribute to that conversation? And if there's not, we can go ahead to a motion.
Madam Chair, I do have a question. Ms. Roca was stating something about the parking and it being off the table. I'm not sure if we can, I think we're making our decision based on the evidence and the plans that were submitted at the original hearing. So I'm not sure if, and maybe Ms. Leonard could advise us as well, can we take that lack of parking off the table at this point when we don't have a plan or it wasn't part of the original application?
Yeah, so it's like my understanding that if we leave it on the table and we grant a variance, we'd be granting this property to operate without parking. And so I think Ms. Roca's point was, is that what we want to do?
She
It
has
seems
parking.
we don't want to do that because there's parking and the applicant has testified that she's later going to take a course to get on track to have that considered or declared as parking. So it seems
Exactly.
to me that we don't need that variance.
So what I'm trying to get at is the appellant is testifying that she has parking on another lot and she would like to consolidate those lots. If we grant the variance today of no parking, then she can have, it's going to be, I think, a further detriment to the neighborhood where people will not be parking in the parking spaces that she has. They'll be parking on the street. So I think to further the Duncan factors and not be a detriment to the essential character of the neighborhood, the preference probably would be that she use the parking lot that she has ownership of to park cars rather than to park them on the street and then gets a variance that she has no parking when in fact she does. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. All right.
But I'll just, yeah, and then with respect to the setback variances, which are the other area variances she needs, I think she's articulated that the building is the building and it is as far away from the adjoining properties as it is, and it's been there since 1890s or 1902. So it would be a regular setback variance that other old buildings have.
Any other questions from the board? All right, hearing no questions, I will entertain a motion, please.
Madam Chair, based on the testimony for today regarding the area variances, I move that we approve calendar number 24-089 while also noting that we are removing the variance for the parking as the appellant is going to resubmit a lot consolidation application to add a parking lot.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Board Member Holzer, I second.
All right, we have a second. Can we call the vote, please?
Madam Chair, would we like to hold this for an updated site plan showing the parking plan?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Madison,
No.
Ms. Faith,
No.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Roca,
Yes.
and Ms. Wilson.
No.
Please help me with the count. Do we not have a?
I am not the person to help you with the count. I think we have 2
Madison?
yeas and
3 noes.
3 noes.
So the variance is denied. Calendar number 24-089, unless there's a wish to make another motion, this motion has failed and the variance is denied. And this
Okay.
decision will be ratified next Monday, and we will send the appellant's letter.
All right, thanks everyone for being here. That concludes our conversation for this matter. That actually concludes our conversation for the agenda today. I'm now going to look at old business. We have 2 matters before us as it relates to the old business, numbers 1 and 2 that are up for ratification. Any objection?
No objection.
No objection.
I was not present.
Yep, no objection for me.
All right, so those 2 calendar numbers will be ratified without objection. There is a note in the miscellaneous of old business that states that the court has affirmed our decision in calendar number 25-137 to grant variances for mixed-use development. The appellants have 30 days to appeal this decision. Should they choose to do so, that has been included for your information. And with that, it is now 11:54, and that concludes our business. We are adjourned. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Kukla, did you get my text message about October?
Yes, I did. Thank you. I'll put it on the calendar.
All right.